we now return to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Here we go. I'm proud to be the company's East End branch investigator and meter money collection agent. All among gas meters, except through penny bits, each coin giving customers about 2 hours of gorgeous gas. And yet, the meter in Mr. Shamspeare's room didn't have a single coin in it. The meter doesn't appear to have been tampered with, although, and the collection agent has the only key. Somehow he's using all the flaming gas he wants without paying a penny. If that's not thieving, what is? Pray forgive the discourtesy. The irrelevance of this testimony caused me to turn to my hallowed chalice. What do you mean by that remark, Lord Van Zeeks? Did the mustachioed Nipponese poison the gangling excuse for an actor, or didn't he? That is all that should be concerning this court, and yet now we must listen to this abhorrence. Clearly what separates the vast British Empire and your Eastern Island nation is more than the geographical distance. But this could turn out to be a crucial testimony. The cross-examination must go ahead. Do what you will. Lord Van Zeeks appears to be in a violent mood. Yes, he does. An attempted poisoning, and an incidence of gas theft with no supporting evidence. It's true that they would appear completely unrelated at first glance, but I wonder. Truth tends to be buried in the most unusual places. It's a gas leak, then. It's a gas leak! Because the dripping over there wasn't poisoned, he got knocked out by gas because the window's bricked up. I wonder, the truth tends to be buried in the most unusual places, and the first step in uncovering it will be to establish just who and what this man really is. Alright. Proud to be the company's East Branch investigator.
Hold it!
Go ahead. So does that mean you enter people's houses in order to empty the gas meters? That I do. I have to try to catch people when they're in, and then I ask permission to go inside and do my business. Does that mean you've been into Mr. Natsume's room before, as well as that of Mr. Shamspeare? Oh well now, interesting you should bring that up, because I couldn't believe how little money was in this meter. I mean, how could the pair of them survive the winter is beyond me, it really is. Knowing Mr. Natsume, he probably spent all his gas money on books. And then, when he's finished reading them, he probably burns them for warmth. You will kindly reiterate your statement about the gas meters themselves, Mr. Meatman. Not much to say, really, but as you wish. Gas meters accept through penny bets, each coin giving customers 2 hours.
Hold it!
So all London houses that have a gas supply are fitted with these gas meters, are they? They're the latest model, the height of technology developed by our company, Ultimate Gas. And anyone who uses our gas will have one of these meters in their property, yes. So if a 3p coin gives 2 hours of gas, most people would use about 3 coins in a night. A bit more than that, usually, but if they have both gas lights and a gas stove, that is. Thinking about it, Soseki-san doesn't have a fireplace in that room of his, does he? Some people still choose to use candles, of course, and only have gas for heating. Ah yes, I do remember seeing candles in Mr. Natsume's room, actually. And how does the money in the meter get back to you at the gas company? Every 3 days, gasmen like me visit properties on the gas supply and empty the meters of coins. I must say the design and manufacture of the new meter cost the company an awful lot of money. But happily, it did put a stop to people not paying their dues, for the most part. Ah, because they have to pay in advance, you mean? Yes, exactly right. And yet the meter at Mr. Shamspeare's room didn't have a single coin in it.
Hold it!
Out of interest, how long has this been going on? Weeks and weeks. He's been pinching gas off us for ages. And you've examined the meter in Mr. Shamspeare's room, I take it? Naturally, we took it off the wall and went over it with a fine-tooth comb. And found nothing suspicious at all, I presume? No, I'm afraid we didn't, which is exactly why I demand a new type of meter to be produced. One with an indestructible lock. The Shamspear Special. It sounds like it would have cost an awful lot of three-penny pieces. But even after all that, the rascal's meter was still empty. I'll never forget the humiliation. When I opened the money box and found it bare. You what? I said. You what? At the look on his face, that smarmy smile of his. I pulled the meter straight off the wall and took it back to the office. But you know what? Nothing. Not a trace of it being jemmied open anywhere. Not a single sign. And what's happening into my salary as a result? Down by 3 shillings a day, that's what. Life-threatening situation in a number of ways. Incidentally, what became of that meter? Nothing became of it. I've still got it. Oh. Right here. And no wonder they call you Meter Man. I think it would be prudent for the court to sequester this item while the trial is ongoing. Gas meter's been entered into the court record. Yes, definitely. Let's look at it now. That's a very sturdy-looking padlock, isn't it? And the money box is sealed with beeswax, too. So if Mr. Sholmes were to get up to any mischief, he'd be found out immediately. Mr. Naruhodo, mischief of that kind is not the sort of thing that Mr. Sholmes would... No, you didn't finish that sentence, don't you? Well, anyway, it's understandable that the gas company would want to safeguard the money that's rightfully theirs. But it does feel a little over the top, perhaps, doesn't it? Wait, what? Oh, I already did that one. Aha. Oh, what's that? Have you spotted something, Mr. Naruhodo? Just here, there's a little hole. Do you see? Goodness, you're right. I wouldn't have noticed. It's not a very neat hole, is it? Not professionally made, I'd say. So, you think it might have been opened up by Mr. Shamspear? Possibly. It seems the people at Altamont Gas must have missed it. Well, it certainly seems to go all the way through to the inside. Yes, but there's no way a coin could fit through there. It's true, but even so, it seems more than a little suspicious. The details of the gas meter have been updated in the court record. Alright. Although at first glance there doesn't appear to be anything unusual about it. Which is why we took a second glance at it. Let's move this along, shall we? Continue with your testimony. Though I would say it has as much value as the contents of that meter. The meter doesn't appear to have been tampered with. Okay. Hold up. We can just present that straight up now. Lady Altamont, I'm afraid to say that this meter clearly does show signs of having been tampered with. What? Yeah, why? I've been over and over that thing. I'm telling you, there's nothing wrong with it. In that case, what do you have to say about the small hole that's been made at the base of the coin box? Hole? What's... You're right, you're quite right. There is a little hole there. The meters aren't supposed to have that. None of the others do. In other words, we can assume that Mr. Shamspear secretly opened up this hole himself. Yes, I wouldn't be at all surprised, but why? Yeah, why? I mean, it's tiny. You couldn't get a farthing through that. Lady Altamont, I wonder if you could give the court some more details about your meter design. What sort of details? Well, what I'd specifically like to know is how it's dismantled, how it differentiates coins. I mean, I guess it would be the coins, then. Maybe? Because how it's dismantled doesn't really help us, does it? But if the they're talking about the hole being too small. It's probably how it differentiates coins. How does the meter tell the difference between different coins? What do you mean? Well, for example, if someone were to put in a 1-penny coin, that wouldn't work, presumably, would it? No, of course not. So, well, how does the meter know that the coin it's been fed is a through-penny bit? I see what you're getting at now. The meter tells coins apart by their shape and size, which includes their thickness. A through-penny bit is about 3/4 of an inch in diameter, you see. Other coins just won't fit. I see. It's clearly been very well thought out. The witness will amend her formal testimony with that information in case it is pertinent. As you wish, my lord. The meter is designed for coins the exact diameter and thickness of a through-penny. Nothing else will fit.
Hold it!
We press that one. But conversely then, it would seem that anything matching a 3-pence coin exactly in terms of diameter and thickness could equally well be used. Would that be true? Oh well, yes, in a way. The weight comes into it to a certain extent as well. We've been through that. We've thought that though anyway. If I find any fake coins inside the coin box when I empty the meter, the contract says the customer has to pay 100 times the amount they diddled as a fine. We live in moments. We live for moments like that. Us gas men do. Live for them. It was even gas companies thought of everything. Whoa, hooray for gas, hooray for cash, Altamont all the way. It's quite enough of that. Remind me, how big are through-penny bits? About 3/4 of an inch across. What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? Is that 2 centimeters measurement significant? Or perhaps there's some other aspect of the meter's construction that we should be focusing on? Yes, you may be right. Perhaps I should try a different tack here. Like asking about whether the meter can be dismantled, for example. I mean, I guess we could? Sure, why not? Just get every bit of information. How can the meter be dismantled? Dismantled? Yes, given that there are no signs of it having been forced, I'm wondering if perhaps rather than being broken open, it might have been taken apart. Well, yes, that does make some sense. The padlocks are made by a first-class locksmith from the finest quality steel, and the meter box itself is made from plate steel as well, welded shut to ensure it can't be opened again. I can assure you, it's quite impossible to dismantle it. Whoa, oh yeah, nothing leaks from an Altamont meter, no coins, no gas, no nothing. I see. The witness will amend her formal testimony with that information in case it is pertinent. As you wish, my lord. All joints in the meter are welded shut and the lock is made from solid steel. There's no way to dismantle it. Wait a minute. Oh. It changes the fourth statement when you do that.
Hold it!
Has anyone ever tried? Oh yeah, they've tried. We've all given up before long. After all, if they actually broke the meter, the company would be able to take any legal action. Yes, that makes sense. What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? Is its welded steel construction significant? Or perhaps there's some other aspect of the meter's construction that we should be focusing on? I see. I see. This is a very cumbersome and unnecessary way of doing this, I feel. Alright. How big is this hole? Because this looks like a mold. Oh, look at this bar of soap again. There's a circular depression on this side, about 2 centimeters across. Or 3/4 of an inch. Do you think... We did find the soap at the scene, didn't we? Yes, there were 2 bars on that little ledge just outside the window. So we took this one. And I'm sure that when we first found it, there was some sort of reddish medallion in the middle there. I remember it clearly. Yes, but there's no sign of it now. Where could it have gone? So it was made of wax, and then they poked a hole in the bottom so it would melt through.
Objection!
Just present it then. Let me just confirm something here. If the diameter and thickness were to be correct, the meter would accept any object as if it were a threepenny bit. Is that correct? Yes, that is correct. Well, by something of a coincidence, while we were investigating Mr. Shamspeare's room, we found a particular item that matches the dimensions perfectly. Something the same size as a threepenny bit. What was it? The item in question is this. What? Have you been inhaling gas? It's a bar of soap. It certainly looks nothing like a threepenny bit, I must say. It looks like I'm going to have to point out exactly what I mean here. What's so important about the soap is this part here. Let me look at it. Jesus.
Got it!
You have to turn over the soap to see what I mean. Are you referring to that round depression in the middle of the soap there? That's right, a depression that's approximately 3/4 of an inch in diameter. Or, in other words, almost exactly the same size as a threepenny bit. Get away! Does anyone here present have in their possession a threepenny bit? Quickly now, hand over your coins, ladies and gentlemen. Sounds rather like a highway robbery, doesn't it? Thanks to the member of the public in the gallery, I have here a threepenny bit. Now to see if it fits. My word, it couldn't be more snug. Yes, as I suspected. This, without a doubt, is a vital clue to explain how the Ultima Gas Company is being defrauded. Well, I don't believe it. So your assertion amounts to what? That some inferior bar of soap has a tentative connection to the theft of gas. Yes. The depression in the soap was clearly made by a threepenny bit. I must concur at least that pushing a coin with some force into a poor quality bar of soap such as this is a remarkably simple way of replicating the coin's shape. And then you use, well, some melted wax or something to pour into the mold. You could make fake coins in no time. Brings all the pieces of the puzzle together. It's the method Mr. Shamspeare's been using to steal the gas that's the missing link. And now, if I follow the chain of thought, it's going to bring me to a new explanation for what happened that nobody's considered yet. But this is all nonsense. If the man had been making fake coins, my worker here would have found them when he emptied the meter. Quite true, Lady Altamont. In the absence of some black magic that would make them disappear... I see. That's what we're dealing with, is it? There's one form of black magic that could cause the fake coins to disappear into thin air, yes. Exactly. And the meter here gives it away. What on earth? There are remnants of the magical method used visible on the gas meter taken from the victim's room. If that is your assertion, counsel, the defense will identify these remnants for the court at once. Where on the meter can the remnants of the method used to make the fake coins disappear be seen? Well, obviously it's got to be that, yeah?
Got it!
We found this bar of soap at the scene of the crime just outside the victim's window. Outside? Yes, outside, where you yourself, Mr. Meterman, were loitering in the freezing winter air. That's where we found this soap.
Oh, I get it.
That's right. The answer, of course, is ice.
Did you say ice?
Mr. Shamspeare's been leaving soaps like this outside his window each evening, filled with water. After a night outside in the bitter cold, the water is completely frozen solid the next morning. Then he takes his fake coins of ice and feeds them into the gas meter, giving him light and warmth in spades. As his room becomes very comfortably warm, the ice now inside the meter's coin box melts, turning back into water, and draining harmlessly away through the small hole made in the underside of the meter. That is how, without leaving any evidence of his wrongdoing, this man has been stealing Altamont gas. Just like that. So simple. Is he trying to make us look like idiots? He's been fooling us all with some bars of soap and some water. That's right, madam. I don't believe it. It can't be true. Do you have any idea how much money we spent to develop that new meter? And now you have the audacity to suggest that a bit of soap and some water can render it totally useless. I'm fairly sure I didn't design it. Evidence? Sorry? I want evidence. If you're going to stand there and tell me our meters are rubbish, I want to see proof. She's very good at enforcing accountability, isn't she? Very well, Lady Altamont. If you'd like evidence, I'll provide it. What? Mr. Naruhodo, are you saying you do actually have evidence to support this theory? I did notice a trace of something that bothered me a little at the time. And I have a feeling that this theory we've come up with now could explain it. The piece of evidence that substantiates the theory about how Mr. Shamspeare has been stealing gas is... Well, I mean, there is a puddle on the floor in this thing. It's right there. So, that.
Take that!
This is a photograph of the scene at the point where the victim was discovered, taken by Inspector Gregson, and it clearly shows the remnants of the crime carried out by Mr. Shamspeare. What remnants? Here you can see the gas meter on the wall in Mr. Shamspeare's room. Now, look closely at the floorboards directly underneath the meter. What is that? Some kind of grubby stain? Almost certainly, it's a water stain resulting from the liquid that drained out of the hole made in the meter. If one coin gives around 2 hours of gas usage, the occupant was heating his room in all his waking hours. We can imagine he would have used around 10 of his fake coins each day. The melting ice inside the meter's coin box would have been dripping out almost constantly, leaving a stain on the floor. This is awful. And there's further evidence, too. Mr. Shamspeare slumped over his table, apparently having consumed strychnine. And right there next to him is a bar of soap, broken in half. You're right.
It would appear to me then, Counsel, that the man was eating the soap, was he?
Pardon me for disagreeing with your lordship, but... certainly not. He didn't beat about the bush there, did he? In truth, Mr. Shamspeare was found with a fork in his hand.
A meal of soap is sounding... Do you mean to say he was using that fork to...
Yes. To extract a frozen coin from the bar of soap. But the bar broke in half. So perhaps it didn't go very well.
Good gracious.
Ah. Lord Van Zeeks? I was throwing my hand up in despair, and happened to catch my hallowed bottle on the way. Pray forgive my maladroit mistake.
What is the meaning of this, Counsel?
Allow me to pose my learned friend a question. What exactly did you establish with your most recent cross-examination? Well, that Mr. William Shamspeare is a liar and a thief. In other words, that his testimony is unreliable. That's it. That's exactly it. Very well. Let us assume the man is a liar. Now, allow me to pose another question. What possible difference does that make? Well, we know the suicide can be discounted. Scotland Yard's investigation revealed no sign of another vessel that contained poison. And on the night in question, there were no visitors to the room except the accused. The young gasman's testimony, which we have no reason to doubt, has confirmed that. Furthermore, the only possible way the poison could have entered the victim's body is via the tea. The court has seen no evidence whatsoever that suggests otherwise. Even if William Shamspeare is the liar you claim him to be, these facts have been objectively established. There's no escaping it. Therefore, in light of these facts, the prosecution calls for immediate adjudication. You... what?
Order, order. Well, counsel, how does the defense respond?
Mr. Naruhodo, what was the point of that last cross-examination? Did it actually get us anywhere? Or did it make no difference at all, like Lord Van Zieks is saying? Well, I guess we'll just have to raise an objection, because there's no other point, huh? No, this isn't over. The defense will not rest. What?
But, counsel, you've successfully explained everything. You've identified and substantiated the unscrupulous method employed by Mr. Shamspeare to consume gas. What more is there to discuss?
Lord Van Zieks has just highlighted 3 facts in order to make his point. But contrary to what he would have the court believe, not all of them have been objectively established at all. What are you trying to say, my Nipponese friend? At least one of those so-called facts is an assumption made due to a lack of evidence. But the situation has changed now following the cross-examination of the latest witnesses to take the stand. Don't be absurd. What is this nonsense? Yes, when you bring everything we've learned so far together and consider it as a whole, it's clear. There's a question we now need to consider, namely, was there poison in the tea? I mean, because there's no evidence that it was poisoned, right? Because they couldn't test it. I mean, yeah, go with that. We've all been led to believe that the strychnine poison that afflicted Mr. Shamspeare, and how did we adjust that he was poisoned? How did we learn that, by the way? Was in the tea brought to him by Mr. Natsume, but that's conjecture at best.
Objection!
The victim has testified that nothing else passed his lips that night, so there's no other possibility. And since there was no trace of the tea left at the scene, it couldn't be tested for traces of the poison.
Objection!
As I said, the situation has changed because, in fact, some of Mr. Natsume's tea was left at the scene, and a particular piece of evidence proves it.
Objection!
A ludicrous claim. Scotland Yard detectives investigated the scene exhaustively. What evidence are you suggesting they missed?
The defense has made a bold claim indeed. Very well, counsel. Present your proof. What evidence from the scene of the crime can tell us about the nature of the defendant's tea?
Well, I mean, there's this. Because there's the ring. He didn't use water, he used tea. Because this looks stained. He used tea.
Take that!
Which he said was cold at the time.
Good gracious. The soap again. The same bar the victim used to fashion his coins of ice.
Yes, that's right, my lord. It's just come back to me, and it was red on the inside. It wasn't wax. Something about when we first found this bar of soap at the scene yesterday. more bars of soap. So, what are bars of soap doing lined up on a ledge outside the window? I'm quite certain that when we originally stumbled upon the bars of soap, there was actually a frozen coin in each bar. So you discover the gas thief's coin factory. Fascinating. In a way, yes, but there's more. The coins we found in the soap at the time weren't normal ice.
There was something strange about them, you mean?
Exactly, something very obviously strange. They were red. The ice was red? No, you mean... That's right. It's obvious to me now. The fake coins in the soap were made from frozen tea. Whoa. I would remind the court of a statement made by Mr. Natsume earlier in this trial.
That evening, yes, I did take some freshly brewed tea with me when I visited Mr. Shamspeare's room as a gift. The public water pump outside always freezes at night, so I bought bottled water.
In 1903, bottled water.
I bought bottled water especially to make it. And this is the result. Never will I touch tea again. Never. Oh yes, I believe there had been a snowfall that day. It was particularly cold.
Why would a poor man go out and buy a bottle of water when there was snow on the ground that they're gonna...
Sadly, on such occasions, the poorly constructed water mains in the East End are prone to freezing.
So on the night in question, Mr. Shamspeare, having no running water to use, was forced to use the tea brought by Mr. Natsume in order to make his fake coins.
My word.
There were 2 bars of soap on the window ledge when my judicial assistant and I investigated the scene. That's right, and we only borrowed one of them. Which means that even as we speak, some of the defendant's tea is still present at the scene of the crime, frozen solid in a bar of soap outside Mr. Shamspeare's window.
Extraordinary.
Earlier today, Inspector Gregson informed the court that if even one drop of the tea remained, Scotland Yard would be able to analyze it for poison. As such, we are now in a position to prove or disprove what has until now been mere conjecture, by finding out for sure whether or not Mr. Natsume's tea actually contains strychnine at all. Yes, magniponis. My lord, we cannot do the defendant the injustice of passing judgment now. The police should be dispatched to recover the remaining bar of soap from the scene at once, and the defense requests a thorough analysis of the frozen tea embedded in it, to determine whether or not it contains any poison.
Bailiff, a bailiff, instruct the police to attend the scene at once.
Yes, my lord, understood.
It would seem we have no choice but to suspend these proceedings for the time being. I trust you have no objection, Lord Van Zeeks?
None, my lord.
Scotland Yard will recover the tea from the scene and carry out the requisite tests immediately. The trial will resume at the same hour tomorrow. The prosecution and defense may conduct further investigations as appropriate in the interim.
Yes, my lord. Well, we managed to scrape through there somehow.
Thank you, counsels. Court is adjourned until tomorrow.
To be continued. Holy crap. This is going to be a long one. So what was the first series of this? It was like 50 episodes, right? Almost, well, yeah, so like 50 episodes. So we're looking at like 100 episodes total, probably. God. Okay, wow, this is a mistake. This was a mistake. Okay, we'll end this one here. I'll see you next time.